Hi everyone, my name is Leonie Reins, and today we move from diagnosing the problems like the pacing problem and the Coleridge dilemma to something more practical. What regulatory tools do we actually have to govern the energy transition? By the end of this session, you should understand why the energy transition is a wicked problem, be able to explain the willingness versus financial resources quadrant, and identify which regulatory tools fit which situation. The energy transition is what we call a wicked problem. That means it is shaped by high levels of uncertainty, multiple conflicting objectives, strong interdependencies across legal, technological, and social systems, and long time horizons, such as decarbonization goals by 2050 and beyond. Also, there is no single solution to these kind of problems. Such problems cannot be solved through linear or incremental approaches to lawmaking. Instead, they demand conceptual framework that engage regulators to navigate tensions, anticipate change, and ensure that legal intervention remains effective and legitimate over time. The energy transition involves agencies, states, companies, consumers, and regulators. And because these actors differ so much, we can't rely on a one-size-fits-it-all approach. We need a diversified regulatory toolbox. This slide introduces a practical decision-making framework. We classify actors along two dimensions: their willingness to engage in the energy transition and their financial resources to do so. This gives us four quadrants: high willingness and high resources. Here, the goal is to facilitate. Think of wealthy, early adopting households, innovative firms with strong sustainability strategies. The key is to let the pioneers lead and avoid over-subsidizing actors to already have the means to move. High willingness but low resources. These actors need support. This includes low-income but climate-motivated households or small businesses trying to decarbonize. The goal is to avoid inequity and strengthening their capacity to participate. Low willingness but high resources. Here we need to limit and oblige. Examples are affluent high emitters, large corporations resisting change. The goal is to apply the polluter pays principle and avoid subsidizing inaction. And finally, low willingness and low resources. This calls for a stick and carrots approach. These might be vulnerable households, SMEs with thin margins, or local industries under economic pressure. The aim is to avoid punishing them while still enabling a fair, even if slower, adaptation pathway. This slide shows how different EU regulatory tools map onto the willingness versus resources quadrants. Over the high willingness and high resource quadrant, a key example is energy trading through energy hubs, which creates enabling frameworks for actors who want to innovate and have the means to do so. We also see regulatory sandboxes, which allow controlled experimentation and the EU's recognition of energy communities, which are largely self-regulating and support collective energy action. For high willingness but low resources, tools include targeted subsidies, tax relief, and technical assistance. Examples include EU and national incentives for insulation, heat pumps, and clean mobility. The Netherlands has subsidies for heat pumps, insulation, small wind turbines, and energy-saving measures, energiebesparende Maatregeln, which fits into the quadrant. For low willingness but high resources, we may use mandatory obligations, penalties, and carbon pricing instruments. The clearest example is the EU emissions trading system, which targets actors with financial capacity but insufficient willingness by raising the cost of inaction. It also includes reporting obligations for businesses, such as ESG reporting requirements. And lastly, in the case of low willingness and low resources, tools here are nudges, moderate sanctions, affordable green alternatives, and gradual phase out of unsustainable options. So the overall message is, different actors sit in different quadrants and therefore require different regulatory tools. In a wicked problem, one-size-fits-it-all regulation is neither fair nor effective. To summarize, the energy transition is a wicked problem. It's complex, uncertain, and shaped by many interdependent factors. We introduced the willingness versus financial resources model as a practical way to match different actors with their regulatory tools that fit their situation. And we looked at concrete EU law examples to see how these tools work in practice. Thank you for listening.